Hi, I'm Russ Smith. This is my thread 7 from my PG Cert Learning module 7SR048. So, really, just to talk through the threads and reflect and kind of twin it all, is my teaching philosophy is kind of similar as what I posted. I'm very much a people person and want to empower, but I understand modern day students sometimes want stuff quick, fast, easy, and how we can make that into learning opportunities. So examples such as flipping the learning or the andragogical principles of tasks and learn as you go sometimes change the way that we deliver based around some of the traditional methods. And I stick to that really in terms of how I deliver, but some little tweaks and links that we've had through the pandemic of how we kind of approach that is key really, especially with digital learning as well. And in my observations I had, I was observed by a number of people, but the ones I'll talk about will be my observation with Dr. Gemma Heath. She works in psychology, and essentially one of the bits with that was how well I engage people, or how well I use some of those principles for my teaching philosophy into life really. So whether it be huddles or quick activities to embed learning, but knowing my audience is one of the ways of which I'd probably say supports and helps me to do that. And especially as I work on a very practical course, my learners tend to be very kinesthetically engaged, but through the living or the learnt experience or experiential learning. And linking that back to the the underpinning theories is something from my second observation that Susie Galloway commented on, and she's a member of the HEA, and she was saying, always bring it back to a point or a key point, and less is more with that really. So rather than 5 or 6 bits of information, just 1 or 2 helps out to underpin and embed for longer. When I observed others, one of the things I found from Gemma was the use of technology, and how easy it is sometimes to not include everyone or have little niches of technology not working or making things accessible. And this is something that we've all probably found really. Something as an action from that is I'm going to survey what my students use and how, and see if that can help, because sometimes it works for us and not for them. I reflected also with Gemma on the amount of planning that psychology do compared to what we had, but one of the questions of which might follow up with Gemma's was, well, how many people looked at that further bit of information or that stuff that you put on there in terms of its analytics? And this is something that digital technology helps us with really. So is it poignant? Is it worth doing it if people don't check with it? And ultimately being that practitioner with the digital age that we're in now is key, and using the HEA kind of framework to look and reflect upon that has helped me out with understanding the what and the why and the how I've done it, and using that framework to benchmark against is key in terms of this PGCE and this final module work. Some of the learning activities which I've put in my assignment are things I've had to change or design and link back into really, and I really like to involve the learners really, and having hands-on living or doing is kind of the key for me. I think with my learners that's very similar of how that's reflected back, and observations I've had have said that, and one with Megan Lawton as the example was key, where she came to observe an activity where I was embedding strategies and formations, but doing it in a very involved way, whereas I'm not the answer to everything. I'm just part of the empowerer of learning and how that could do. And this is something that's really key with my learners now, of how I involve them will be kind of the better of how they engage or pick up the philosophies of how they learn with that. There's evidence also of analysis and how that is done live and then linked back to theoretical underpinning. So have a go, try, error, fail. And one of the bits of philosophy really to link back in with what I do is using FAIL as a good acronym of how learning can happen. It's a first attempt in learning if you took all the letters, and it's okay if things don't go well all the time really. With my critical incidents, I've reflected and wrote a little bit about dealing with inclusivity. So into the role I had a student who was blind, and how I had to change and link and involve him to find out how and what and ways we could use assessment to underpin that, and that kind of linked back to my industry experience of how, but I'm definitely a better practitioner because of that. And technology really is a big one for that, what works and what doesn't, and I think we've all had a fail on big blue button, Teams, Zoom or whatever it might be over the period, and making it more student friendly has definitely been a key thing that I've learnt as I've gone on with really. With assessment design as well, we have a new standard of a degree, so I've had to really design and change and new things and involving students with rubrics and way it's done rather than just being fit for purpose for staff is something that's key, and that last module really helped out with the understanding of what and why and how I was doing that. We also have to link and align things back into industry as well, so we have some of those standards or some of those job-based activities to do that as well. So just to, that's really helped out the understanding of why. And finally, really, as part of this module, me understanding being the better deliverer that I am, or developing as I go and learning from others, has been a key attribute to what I think is the success. And being a HEA membership now will be key to underpin that learning and that journey I've been on. And I've enjoyed the experience, and hopefully it will help me to be the better deliverer in the future for the University of Wolverhampton.